Full disclosure, the voice you are listening to now is artificially generated, brought to you by satisphonic.com. See the link in the description for more details. What happened to the smartest kid in your class? Got a full ride to Harvard, did an internship his first summer at Intel, and was killed by a drunk driver a few weeks after arriving in California. Fucking couldn't believe it when it happened 25 years ago. Still can't really. Fuck drunk drivers. I was playing a game on Discord one night, and this guy my friend and I hadn't talked to in years was killed that night. One of the dudes on the Discord was still close with him. It was fucking awful. He was absolutely mutilated. Nicest, most intelligent guy murdered by a drunk driver. We were literally making jokes about us hanging out the night before and how we hadn't heard from him in a long time. Back then, I was ignorant and would drive if I felt fine. But that was such a horrible thing, and I feel like a piece of shit nowadays that it had to really resonate with me to understand. Someone taking the life of anyone that hasn't had a chance to live it for literally no reason whatsoever. Taking a life period, but it hit way harder knowing the guy and who he was. I believe he works for NASA. He deleted his Facebook a while ago, like the smartest kid in our class would do, but that's what he was doing last I checked. He got sick with a rare stomach disease and isn't doing too good. A guy I got hired with is a chemical engineer, seems really intelligent, and just went off work around 5-6 months ago with a rare stomach disease. Wonder if it's the same person. There were two. They were twins. They're both geneticists, now with Pulitzers, and they work at the same university. The smartest in my class were twins too, would get perfect or almost perfect grades in every subject, like 100% in almost every test or assignment, whether it's a math test or assignment, whether it's a math test or history paper. Did a ton of volunteer hours too. They both got accepted into Cambridge University's med program. I think only 5 or 10 applicants got accepted from all of Canada. One's a neurosurgeon and the other a cardiologist now. That's honestly so cool how they got to stick together all throughout grad school, secure a position at the same institution. Not that surprising, they're conjoined twins. Ha 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 ha, thank you for that. Fentale happened to her, married the most abusive guy ever and had 3 kids, divorced. Fentanyl is so goddamn destructive. I see their tragic stories play out every shift I work. It's soul draining. Smartest guy from my high school became an actual rocket scientist. I'm a rocket scientist. One of the dark secrets is it doesn't take a rocket scientist to be a rocket scientist. We had a few folks that skated by with Gentleman CC. I'm a neuroscientist and I say the same thing, mostly because I'm still a dumbass. How hard can it be? It's not like it's brain surgery. Rocket surgery. You tell people I'm a rocket scientist. I'm a theoretical physicist. My God! Why don't you just tell them I'm a toll taker at the Golden Gate Bridge? Rocket scientist, how humiliating. He's in jail for murder. Came as a surprise. I'm gonna need you to elaborate on that. He was a really nice, friendly guy. Didn't expect him to ever be violent. Then one day I read he shot his business partner execution style. I'm going to need you to elaborate much more on that, this time in the form of a limited documentary. Leo, it's hard to elaborate on something I don't really know all that much about, sadly. In school, he was known for being super friendly and helpful to all the other students in class. Even held study groups and stuff. A few years later, and I read he killed his business partner and that he got connected to a bunch of fraud and embezzlement cases. Bro, the true crime addicts need you. Step up. True crime addicts when violent things happen in someone's real life. Tell me every little detail. I love this. The smartest kid in my school was really popular and was one of my closest friends. But when he graduated, he left everyone and everything behind, including his family. He even changed his name. I found out this little bit of information because a friend went to an academic conference and showed me a group photo, and he was in it. I exclaimed, "That's my friend Pascal. He kept his first name, but his last name was an anagram of his original name." So you changed your name to Pascal Littbacher. You didn't like your old last name? Butlicker. Our prices have never been lower. I knew a guy who did this. One of my best friend's older brother. He got a degree in German and moved to South Korea for a little while. Next thing we know, he had moved back to his native state, but to a small town, and had taken on a whole new persona. different name and all. Apparently, he spoke with a German accent in his new life. We met a guy who only knew him as the new version. That conversation was wild. I had an anatomy professor who went to med school in the UK in his 20s, came back 5 years later and changed his name, and used a super thick British accent. I hope the accent was broomy or something equally mental. I'd accept Geordie or Scouse. He just accepted a full professorship at a big university in the States. Particle physicist, also my best. Died from a brain tumor right after he graduated high school. He was dang smart, could play the piano upside down too. Was he upside down, or the piano? Yes. There are two. I remember one of them crying when they got an A on a test in like 7th grade. One of them, the one who cried, is an executive in a Fortune 500 company. Nothing special, but making a lot of money. The other one is a brain surgeon. That sounds like my cousin. She had a complete breakdown from getting an A on a test. But her father was also super physically abusive if she got anything less than 100%, even as a young child. Coloring outside the lines was not allowed. She's now a teacher with an Instagram perfect life. It's far from perfect. I didn't realize that was a thing until in 7th grade, when my buddy got a buttery. He started hyperventilating and crying, because my dad is going to beat my ass, as he said. Came to school with black eyes, as he said. Came to school with black eyes. Ian Seeps was involved by the end of the day, as everyone remembered him freaking out. She worked at Johns Hopkins, doing research with psilocybin. I too know a few people who got really into studying psilocybin after high school. I majored in applied recreational neuropharmacology myself. I sold drugs, but I like this phrase better. After never having even smoked a cigarette or drank alcohol in high school, straight as all the way through, he got a full ride to a really good university. As a freshman, he dropped acid, walked out in front of a car, and was killed. Sort of reminds me of a college friend. He was straight edge, no drugs, alcohol. I think he even stayed away from caffeine. Said addiction ran in his family, so it made sense. Decided, though, that immediately after graduation, he wanted a huge party and had his first alcohol. Got insanely trashed but survived for about 20 years. He died of liver failure due to severe alcoholism at the age of 41. I hate that I remember where he was, where it started, but what did we know? He moved to Poland and became a molecular biologist. Not sure why, but I read this as muscular biologist, which made me cackle. He gave up brains for gain. He went to MIT, works for Apple, and has a very expensive home in California. He also has a wife and 4 kids and seems to be very happy. I remember he was programming games in high school and was valedictorian. A big nerd who became a wealthy big nerd. Smart kid, the happy ending. I don't understand why many people shame nerds. They become the successful people in long run. There are very few short-term immediate rewards for being smart in school. On the flip side, being attractive, athletic, outgoing, or a shithead, etc. have immediate rewards attention. Teenage kids can be pretty cruel to each other. Went to a big college. Got a degree in tech. Now makes 6 figures and owns a townhouse outside of Baltimore. He lives with his grandmother mainly. Smokes a shitload of weed. Flies a girl from Colorado to fuck and smoke with. I married his sister. This story lightened my mood drastically after the other stories I've read here. Disappeared into a shadowy government job. Poof, gone edit. Wow, this exploded. Almost like the US government headhunts like any other business I get. Same here. He joined the Navy. Then nothing for years. Then he posted a pic of him on the deck of a ship in what looked like an astronaut-level diving rig. Then nothing. I'm so intrigued. Next smartest did Marsop. The smartest one I knew ended up drowning tragically right after we graduated. I wish I could have seen him make an impact on the world. But I knew a guy like that too. His twin brother has been devastated since. So sad. That's weird. Some years ago, we had 2 twin teens get in a terrible car accident speeding, and the one died. The other was a mess, and then faced charges. It was just awful, and I wonder how he's doing now. Kind of the same. He was technically the salutatorian, but I think he was smarter than the valedictorian. Ended up dying when an avalanche pushed him off a cliff during a backpacking trip in Europe, sophomore year of college. Won't forget my reaction to hearing about it before even his mother, by weird circumstance of a chain of friends on the trip. Rip Henry, you were cool off, and I literally cannot pass a saucer ball without thinking about you. Please find his parents and let them know you carry the memory of their son on your heart. As a parent of a child no longer on this earth, the only thing we have is memories, and knowing they live on in others is a great joy. We had one kid die from getting run over while out of state the summer we graduated. School president, captain of the football team, and pretty much most popular guy in school, died drunk when he drove into a tree after his frosh year of college. Think we had 3 guys die within a year of graduating. My best friend, at the time, we drifted apart and speak only rarely now. He got a PhD at Harvard, studied science in Antarctica, and now teaches at an Ivy League university. University of Antarctica. Up said Ivy League, not Icy League. We drifted apart and speak only rarely now. Remember what we used to do, and how it used to be. I always knew to count on you, and you depend on me. I guess we drifted out of touch, but that's the thing, they say. It's not that friendships end as such. They simply slip away. It's the first time seeing you write a poem that is not funny, but equally, or maybe better than your usual ones. Damn. Superstar pediatric neurosurgeon. Most confident person I've ever met. Guess you'd have to be to cut open a little kid's skull and operate on their brain. I saw some interview during a documentary when a surgeon said something to the effect of, "Yay, I come off arrogant at times, but do you want a surgeon who's not extremely confident in their ability?" The gift is self-awareness here. I'd trust him with my life. Yep, infinite difference between narcissism and actual confidence. I want supreme confidence in my surgeons. I want supreme suspicion from my anesthesiologists. I want level-headedness from my specialists. He picked up the scalpel and held it ahead, the shape of disquiet, the structure of dread. He looked at his patient and frowned with a sigh. He whispered, "I guess I could give it a try." I like this joke. The surgeon is about to open the patient who is under local anesthesia. Doctor exhales and mutters, "Don't worry, Peter, this is going to go well. You'll see." The patient says, "My name is not Peter." The doctor answers, "Oh, I know. I am Peter." Funnily enough, the smartest person I've ever been in a relationship with. My state has the smartest 10 kids in the university entry exams every year on the front page. She was one of them. Last I checked was a pediatric cardiology anesthetist. That said, she wasn't the nicest person I've ever dated. A lot of very well-paid medical specialists basically treat their partners as pet trophy wives. Turns out that attitude isn't gendered and applies even when the partner is also in a wow. That sounds difficult to judge. Guy had 3 scholarship offers, lasted 1 year in uni before jumping off a building. Feel sorry for him and his family. I was in a really dark place at the start of this year, during my first week in uni. I was the stereotypical gifted kid during secondary school and 6th form, 12-18 education total in the UK. Especially during secondary, the teachers would have me check their answers, and if I got a different result to the textbook, they'd have to come in as a mediator to see who's right. I wanted to kill myself during my first university year. I still struggled with the thoughts. This was made worse by my depression affecting my results, making my grades and performance drop, and because I for so long had valued myself according to academic achievement, it really burned. I felt especially worthless. There's a bridge on the way to the train station in university. It's not a big drop, but it's right above a motorway. I thought about jumping off a lot. I resonate with this story. I can only hope that I don't head back into that dark place when my second year starts. Edit! Wow! This is really heartwarming. I'm so happy! So many of you replied. I really didn't expect you to. I was replying to every comment individually, but I just did a scroll through and realized that there are so many more than I thought. You're all so very kind, and you're all so very kind, and you're all strangers to me. It means even more. People who don't know me at all have such a capacity to be kind to me and love me and share their own stories. It's so human. It means a lot for someone who hasn't had many friendships that are genuine. Thank you all so much. You're all amazing. It means so much to me that you all replied, and I'm sorry I myself can't reply to all of you. I started, but it's just a lot, haha. Thank you all also. Rest assured, I'm getting therapy. I am on medication. It's a journey, but I'm doing my best. I can say I'm at a position where I don't want to kill myself anymore. That's not saying that I won't want to in the future, or that I don't still have thoughts from time to time, or even that I'm ready to live. But I at least go through my day generally not wanting to die. It's a start, right? Just worth mentioning, life is not a race or a competition. You have all of your remaining years to get a degree, and you can only stay alive in the present. I'd try to ensure your survival first and foremost. Don't be afraid to make the changes necessary for your survival. Taking time away from education to seek necessary treatment is a much smaller bump in the road than your body. Take care and stay aware. Oh God, this, so much this. I also was the stereotypical gifted kid throughout school and even at university. I studied law because it came to me easily and was fun, and back then I still believed that economic success and prestige were the most important things in life, and that I had to live up the possibilities given to me by luck of the draw with regard to smarter's ease of learning. Developed an eating disorder from the pressure to succeed, and because I was not at all adjusted to all the responsibilities of adult life. Started intensive therapy to overcome the ed and deal with life better, but still went through the practical education in law here in Germany after uni and the first set of exams, which exclusively deal with the theoretical side of the law. You have to do 2 years of a more practical education in working in the different fields of law and take another set of exams. During that time, I had 2 minor breakdowns which I didn't recognize as burnout back then, but which in hindsight were clear signs of me being overwhelmed. Took the exams, got the first job I applied to, and started working as a lawyer in a big law firm. I liked the field I worked in, renewable energies, but hated every single day of work because I constantly felt overwhelmed, inadequate, and terribly scared of fate. Social contacts and things to do for fun fell by the wayside because I simply didn't have any energy left for them after putting everything into trying to cope with work. Managed to do 2.5 years of that until my body said, nope, not doing this anymore, and gave me a really bad burnout. Took 5 whole years of doing nothing and 2 inpatient treatments, which were thankfully possible due to the German social and healthcare systems, to recover enough to think about working again, though never in my original field of law. Now I work a part-time job in a super small publishing house, way beyond my facilities and making way less money, and I've never been happier in all my life. I no longer feel constantly overwhelmed or scared to fail because I've set my bars a lot lower. What I learned from all of this is that education, money, prestige, all that is not worth anything if you're not happy doing what you do, except for the odd bad day or annoying task which are inevitable and normal. I don't regret my way to where I am, despite all the pits I fell into along the way, because I wouldn't know to appreciate where I am now without it. But the thing is, if you learn to listen to yourself, and with the right medical care, because antidepressants also helped a lot in my recovery and my current everyday life, you can find what makes you happy, and it may not think what you thought it would be. Edit. Oh wow, thank you kind strangers for the awards. I honestly appreciate them, Edit 2. Hey guys, I just wanted to come on here one more time and express my sincere thanks to all of you who interacted with my comment and had kind conversations with me. I've had 2 very stressful weeks at work, thankfully not a regular thing, but sometimes shit just happens, and felt a bit exhausted and overwhelmed from that, and I didn't think this weekend would be enough to recover fully. But just now I realized that I do feel a lot better than I did this morning, and I think it might have to do with the heartfelt and kind interactions I've had with you guys on this thread. So thank you for helping me feel better. Thanks for sharing your story here. If you ever want a jackass to rant to, I'm here for it. Some gifted people have serious mental issues, as most get bullied and tormented, and they get closer to killing themselves every time treats them badly. There are lots of cases like this where they realize the world is too arrogant to change for the better, so why be in it? I was the smartest person in school always. I've spent most of the last year on psych wards. I am pushing 40, single, no kids. I may have been smart at school without even having to try, but I find life incredibly difficult. There's some really interesting connections about that. Most of the gifted kids are just people with mental disorders like ATID or AS that haven't hit a wall yet. Both of those conditions often come along with something called rejection sensitivity dysphoria. EST causes people to take criticism more personally, get suicidal ideations more quickly, and become unable to cope with failure. That, combined with the pressure of meeting high expectations, causes a lot of these genius kids to snap eventually, simply due to unique brain chemistry. Edit. Some links for you curious souls asking HUTS, My Cleveland Clinic, or Health Diseases 20, 4099 rejection, sensitive dysphoria, rejection, sensitive dysphoria. recommend commanded ejection, sensitive dysphoria hatical rejection, sensitive dysphoria and adhued mag. I'm in this comment. I don't like it. Dropped out of college to marry and support the much younger woman he got pregnant. Now, 30 years later, owns a board game store with a large back room for mini painting and games and plays, dad to half the neurodivergent kids in town. Still married to the same woman too. It's not a high-flying life, but he makes a difference to so many people. Edit! Wow, this blew up. To make you all feel better. He was 23, I think, and she was 18, a big age gap when you're young. It was also in the Netherlands, where at least at the time, I'd been gone a while. We didn't really care so much as long as it wasn't a 10-year difference, or one of them was under 15. Teenagers have sex drives, it happens. This is the most wholesome thing on here. He was smart enough to never associate with people from high school. Again. He has never attended a reunion, and it's been over 30 years. I too have not talked to anyone from school for close to 30 years. And after the 20-year reunion, I will never associate with mine again, either. The one person most likely to have led the future committed murder-suicide. I've outgrown them now. I had such a big crush on her and told her. We dated. She moved across country to study and is now a doctor. So proud of her even though our lives changed paths. Funny enough, the same thing happened to me. Except after I confessed my feelings, she'd never talked to me again. He is currently an aerospace engineer who played a big role in the engineering of the Canada Arm. Had a full ride through Berkeley. Ended up experimenting a lot with hallucinogens. Started to believe he was a star child or starseed and was from another planet. Ended up starving himself in a national park to die with the Earth so he could meet other star children. Fucking miss and love you, buddy. Edit. It has come to my attention there is a Berkeley and a Berkeley. He was the smartest kid, not me lol. So I'm updating this to add the correct college. Unfortunately, the smartest kid in my class in middle school ended his life in 8th grade. He was also a brilliant violinist. I was his stand partner in orchestra. I was proud to be his brother's stand partner in high school. Rest in peace, Connor. 8th grade. What a tragedy. When I was in middle school, we had a super smart kid join later on in the semester that was always teased because he was above everyone else mentally. I think in 8th grade he was doing 10th or 11th grade mathematics. Any test that he took, he passed with flying colors, hardly even studying. He befriended me. I was kinda quiet in middle school because of stuff going on at home. His mom always made me an extra sandwich whenever she made his lunch. I lost contact after graduation, but a few years later, when I was a sophomore in college, I decided to look him up on Facebook and couldn't believe what I saw. There was my friend, the brainiac smoking salvia out of a huge bong as his profile picture. I think he had to take it down because when I looked him up again, he had pics of him drinking out of a funnel. She's a professor at Oxford University. She went to med school. Far as I know, her life is good at it. For everyone saying, med school sucks, she graduated, so at least that's over and done with love. The smartest kids I knew in school turned to alcohol and doing really dumb shit. Maybe not all, but quite a few. The bullies didn't amount to anything either. The mediocre ones in the middle were the ones that had successful careers and normal lives. My bullies became cops. No joke. Of the 3 people I knew from high school who eventually became cops, all of them were bullies. Only one of them really bullied me, and it was only for a little while until I confronted him in front of some of our mutual friends and asked why he was being a dick and what had I ever done to him. Then he laid off me, but he was still a bully to other people. Dude had rage issues too, and the reason he started fucking with me was because I refused to follow his orders. When I found out he was a cop a couple decades later, I was like, Jesus, I'd hate to ever get pulled over by him. He acted like one of those dick cops you see foaming at the mouth screaming in people's face for refusing to let him shit on their rights before he even had any official authority. Can't imagine what he turned into once he got some. Edit. Let me correct my post. She married the now 2nd richest man. It's hard to keep up with the billionaires and how fast their interests doubled their wealth over the pandemic. She married the now richest man in the world, divorced him, and is now the 4th richest human. Not bad. Mackenzie Scott was the smartest kid in her high school.
Why did Bezos let her go?
She did. He had an affair. died in a car accident sophomore year. I loved her. First person I felt those feelings for. I could remember the first time I saw her in kindergarten. We also learned to golf together my freshman year. It was tragic because she had so much potential and died overachieving trying to get to school early for jazz band practice. It was snowing and school hadn't been delayed or cancelled yet, as our superintendent liked to always wait last minute. She hit a slick spot and collided with a semi. So sorry, that is terrible. He was an idealist, became a priest and served in the Vatican, became disillusioned and left the church, got 2 master's degrees and died by his own hand. He was a truly good person who couldn't marry his ideals with the reality of the church.